A question on Reddit asks, to anybody who likes exploring abandoned/rundown places, what was the scariest thing that has ever happened to you on your adventures? This was when I was a kid, maybe 12-13, back when me and my 4 cousins were little hellions. They lived out on the ranch and we would ride 4-wheelers to a bunch of abandoned buildings in the country all the time. One time we came across a bridge and decided to stop and enjoy the view. It was a beautiful day, I should mention. Sun was shining, birds were singing, and the water in the river looked amazing rushing under the bridge. Then we noticed something strange. There is a metal wire tied to the rail of the bridge and hanging down into the water. Of course, curiosity got the best of us, so we decided to pull it up and see what it was all about. We pull up a deer skull, a huge one too, with large antlers and everything. Mind you, this is not within the timeline of hunting season at all. Then my cousin says, "Look over there." We see what looks like an axe stuck in the middle of a tree stump down by the river. We walk to the end of the bridge and hike our way down to the river, and lo and behold, this is not an axe. It was a deer's leg that had been chopped off and stuck in the dead centre of the tree stump. Pointing straight up at the sky, we rushed back to the top of the bridge and decided there was no way a deer died by itself and put its leg in a tree stump and tied its skull to a metal wire. We come to the realisation that somebody is hunting out of season. Suddenly, as 2 of my cousins are discussing whether to take the head with them or not, they thought it was super cool, but it smelled absolutely horrible. We see some hillbilly looking men step out onto the porch of the house up on the hill. They are holding rifles. They see that we've pulled up the wire with the deer skull and start running down the hill at us. We never rode our 4-wheelers so fast. We booked it out of there. We made it back to the ranch and told our parents about it. There used to be this abandoned asylum in the woods by the park near the house where I grew up. The main building above ground had been torn down, but the basement was still there, and you could enter it through a small window that was just big enough to crawl through. The furniture and some medical stuff was still down there. I was too afraid to go through the window, but my friend wasn't. He was down there for about 5 minutes before he screamed and jumped out of the window. He said something was chasing him. We could hear it down there scurrying about, but none of us wanted to get close enough to the window to look with the flashlight. A few years later, the woman got attacked near there by a gaze of aggressive raccoons. As I've shared before in this comment, I looked at abandoned/foreclosed homes for part of my job. Walked through about 2,500 in the past 4 years. The time I got scared the most was in an abandoned home. All windows and doors boarded up and the house was very rough, ransacked and had lots of debris. I got in and was taking photos of all the rooms. I made my way to the basement, very dimly lit from gaps in the boards covering the windows. And upon turning the corner, I see a man standing in the back corner of the room looking back at me. I yelled in fear and jumped back, only to realise it was a floor-to-ceiling mirror and a reflection of myself. About 10 years ago, I was exploring an old run-down hotel in my city with some friends at about 3 a.m. The property owners were having serious troubles with squatters, so they had put razor wire everywhere. I was wearing thin jeans. I was 18 and stupid. I tripped on some steps and thought some of the razor wire had just cut on my jeans. We kept going and get inside. Soon I realised my leg is wet, and I don't just mean wet, it is soaked from the knee down. It's dark as hell, so my buddy shines his flashlight on my leg, and it turns out it's blood. I have to drop my pants in front of everyone to see where it's coming from. Right above my knee is this little cut squirting blood. We all start cursing. One of the girls pukes and has to turn away. Fortunately, my buddy, incidentally the one with the flashlight, takes off his belt and sweatshirt and makes a pressure pack for it and gets me to lay down with my leg above my head for a bit. After a while, we decide that we have to hike out of there and quick before security comes back for their rounds. So we tighten the belt and we hike out of there. I had to take my pants off all the way because I didn't want to rip them over the sweatshirt. So here I am walking out of this hotel and into a subsequent neighbourhood to where our car was parked. My boxer briefs holding my leg, soaked in blood from the knee down. Ended up going okay, sewed it up at home with the help of the dude with the flashlight. He was a nifty friend to have around. Me and two of my friends were exploring some woods on the outskirts of my city when we were around about 12 or 13 years old. These woods had old barracks in them that were used during World War II, but are completely abandoned, overgrown and run down now. To actually get to any explorable barracks, you had to go quite deep into the forest and up some very steep hills in which you used the tree roots that grow down them to climb up. This was the first time me and my friends had ventured this deep before, so we were pretty excited at seeing how far we could go and how big the place actually was. Eventually we came to a cross path and we chose to go down the right side. We had to squeeze our way through some tight, stinging nettle bushes, but luckily we all had long clothes on to protect us. We stumbled out into this huge clearing area where right in front of us was a huge building that had a massive entrance in the side. We were all astounded as we didn't realise any buildings this big were in the forest and we hadn't seen any real abandoned places before. Of course we decided to go in and check it out, and inside it stretched quite deep and was very dark. Being young, we were all pretty nervous to actually set foot any further than where the natural light from the opening spread to. We hung around the entrance for a bit, messing around, echoing our voices and such. Eventually one of my friends is looking off into the darkness with a very frightened expression on his face. Me and the other friend turned to ask him what's the matter, and he says, "Guys, I swear I just saw a face or something in the dark over there." Me and my friend, thinking he's just trying to spook us, tell him to stop messing with us. We aren't falling for his tricks. That's when it happened. The loud scream of an adult male fills the entire building, amplified by the echo. With that, me and my friends look at each other absolutely terrified and let out shrieks ourselves. We bolted towards the bushes in which we came and start making a break straight back the way we came without looking back. We must have run for a solid 10 minutes straight without even stopping. Those huge steep hills I spoke about earlier were literally jumped down and just slid down them, getting covered in dirt. We finally reached the edge of the forest and stopped running. We never did find out who was in there or why, but considering how young I was, it was definitely one of the most terrifying experiences. There used to be a house just behind our property when I was a kid. It was abandoned. The lady who lived there died some 30 years ago, and no one ever bothered with the house. It was seriously run down. All the windows were broken by vandals, storm had blown stuff all over the place, the floors were water damaged and warped. The paint was flaking off everywhere, and it smelled strange. The back area had a shed with what I presume were jars of canned vegetables that were so old that they had begun to moult. The creepy vibe was very strong, and when me and my siblings went to explore it, we all had a strong feeling that we were being watched. Now, my brother and sister had their own unexplained experiences, but I'll share mine. In the upstairs room, and the top of the stairs, there was an old hospital bed with a stained mattress. There was also shelves full of books, interesting books that were going to waste. A few of them had very neat covers, and the pages were ruined, so I thought I'll salvage the covers for a journal or something. Anyway, I gathered up a few books I felt could be salvaged and laid them on the bed. Bear in mind, my brother and sister were in the very next room. I could see them the whole time, while they were trying to make their way out onto a balcony. One of them called for me to help move an old TV, so I went and helped. Again, I could see them the whole time. They never left that room. Now, when I got back into that book room, those books were now back on the shelf. To this day, I have no rational explanation, and I never went back to that house. 2 times out of 100 or so adventures have ended in a scary situation. There's an abandoned hospital here I explored a lot. I even spent the night in there a few times. It was incredibly intimidating from the outside, and not many people had the balls to go back in then. One night I went in with a couple of friends and we saw a sleeping bag on the ground that appeared to have a person in it. And one of the friends who had joined, complete idiot, thought it would be a good idea to kick the sleeping bag and see if somebody was in it. Sure as hell someone was in it. He jumped out of the sleeping bag screaming at us. No words, just screams, and chased us out of there. The second time I was in an abandoned factory, huge factory. I'd also been there a few times previously, made it inside, started taking photos, and then my friend asked if I could hear somebody running. We waited and listened for a minute, and the running kept getting louder and closer, so we got out there before we found out who it was running, or why they were running. Thanks for watching everyone. Please like and subscribe. I will be releasing more videos shortly.